This video will introduce the life cycle of tomato sauce, roughly divided into 3 parts: introduction, main content, and summary. The introduction section will cover the product introduction and the history of tomato sauce. The main contents include product life cycle, system boundary, and environmental impact. The final summary includes recommendations for improving the handling of production use and the relationship with CGIGS. The agri-food chain is one of the sectors with the greatest impact on the environment, with the food and beverage value chain responsible for 17% of direct greenhouse gas emissions and 28% of the use of physical resources, and has therefore been identified as a priority area of concern in terms of sustainability. Consumers are also becoming more aware of the damage these products cause to the environment, and future consumers will consider ecological and ethical standards more when choosing foods. If more sustainable products are to be obtained, environmental impact and resource use must be assessed, taking into account their entire life cycle. Life cycle assessment (LCA) is a very useful method for assessing a product's impact on the environment throughout its life cycle as cradle-to-grave analysis. The LCA method is subject to the ISO 14040 International Series of Standards. This approach has been used in many studies to assess the sustainability of food production. So today, we're going to use tomato sauce as an example. Tomato sauce is a sauce made from tomatoes that originated in America, introduced to the world through Europe. The tomato became popular in Europe, where it was initially seen as a poisonous plant, but was considered a prized ingredient in Italy. Italians started using tomatoes to make sauces, originally tomato salsa. Tomato sauce was first recorded in the United States in 1812, but it didn't become very popular at that time. Tomato sauce became popular in the early 1900s and became a common condiment in American homes. With the development of industrialization, tomato sauce production has become more large-scale and more standardized, and become an indispensable part of people's daily diet. Now let's move on to part 2. The life cycle of tomato paste mainly involves 7 stages, which are cultivation, transportation, processing, packaging, distribution, usage, and disposal. First, let's introduce the first part: cultivation. The first stage to be considered in agricultural LCA research is the production of raw materials. Step 1. Soil preparation. Select fertile, well-drained and breathable farmland, soft soil, and remove weeds and rocks. If the soil pH is too low, lime will need to be applied before cultivation to adjust the soil pH. Step 2. Seed breeding. Select high-quality, disease-resistant, and high-yield tomato varieties. Rinse them with clean water. Then soak them in 10% brine for disinfection. Dry them for use. Step 3. Sowing. Before sowing, dry the seeds at 25 to control the moisture content. Then, at the right temperature, the seeds are evenly spread on the cultivated land mixed with compound fertilizer and organic fertilizer. Step 4. Seedling. Tomato seeds germinate, grow seedlings. At this point, timely watering is needed to keep the soil moist, while gradually increasing the amount of light to promote the growth of seedlings. Step 5. Transplanting. When the seedlings have reached a certain height, they are ready for transplanting. Remove seedlings from the seedbed and transplant them with roots protected to prevent damage to the seedlings. Step 6. Management. For tomato plants, control pests and diseases, weed and prune them to ensure healthy growth, and fertilize and water them if necessary. Finally, harvest. When the fruit is bright red and good size, it is ready to harvest. In short, tomato cultivation requires mastering scientific cultivation methods and management skills, paying attention to the prevention and control of pests and diseases. Now let's move on to the second part, the transportation phase. The first step is to sift. Choose ripe, firm tomatoes for tomato paste. Secondly, they should be packed and marked. Before shipping, they are usually packed in nets or cartons to protect them from damage. Third, keep it fresh. Tomatoes need to be transported and stored at the right temperature and humidity. Finally, you can choose the mode of transportation. Generally speaking, long-distance transportation should choose refrigerated transportation, and short-distance transportation can choose ordinary freight. Then comes the most important stage of tomato sauce production: processing. The processing of tomato sauce consists of the following 6 steps. Wash first. Wash fresh tomatoes to remove impurities and dirt from the surface, then cut and peel. Cut the tomatoes into small pieces or grind them to a puree while removing the skin. The third step is ready to cook. Add chopped tomato chunks or purées to a cooking pot. Add salt, sugar, spices, and other seasonings. Bring to a boil and stir well. Step 4. Strain the cooked tomato juice through a strainer to remove residue and impurities. Then it's sterilized. The filtered tomato juice is pasteurized to kill bacteria and extend its shelf life. The final step is cooling and storage. Cool the sterilized bottles to room temperature and store them in a cool place. Next comes the 4th step, packaging. There are many forms of tomato sauce packaging. Here are some common forms. Glass bottle has good sealing and transparency, can keep the tomato sauce fresh in color. Tomato sauce in packets is usually suitable for takeout or fast food restaurants where it needs to be used quickly. It has good sealing and preservation. Tomato sauce in plastic bottles is usually convenient, lightweight, less prone to cracking, and easy to transport and store. The difference is that tomato sauce in buckets is usually suitable for mass production. Let's take the glass bottle as an example to analyze the packaging process of tomato sauce. The glass bottle should be prepared first. The next step is inversion. Pour the tomato sauce into a sterilized bottle and seal it with a professional machine to make sure it doesn't leak or spoil. Step 3. Label and package. Label the surface of the bottle, indicating the product name, specifications, production date, shelf life, and other information. The bottle is then placed in a properly sized box and sealed, labeled, and shipped. Finally, the inspection and quality control. The appearance, taste, smell, and other aspects of the packaged tomato sauce. Inspection and quality control to ensure product quality in line with standards and regulations. Next comes the 5th step, distribution and transport. The packaged tomato sauce is shipped to retailers and other locations for sale. Tomato sauce produced in the factory can be sent to a variety of different places, including supermarkets, restaurants, food wholesalers, food processing plants, and so on. Exactly where to send it depends on the factory's sales channels and partners. For domestic short-distance transportation, usually by car or train transportation. For long-distance transport, sea or air transport is usually required. Next comes stage 6, the usage of tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is used in a wide range of everyday applications. It can be used for seasoning, cooking, eating, and baking. Tomato sauce can be used to flavor and add sweet and sour flavor, such as in pasta, pizza, hamburgers. Tomato sauce can add color and texture to dishes. For example, you can use tomato sauce to make fried rice and hot pot. Of course, tomato sauce can also be eaten with fries, grilled chicken wings, pancakes, etc. Finally, tomato sauce can be used to make tomato sauce bread, tomato sauce cakes, etc. Finally, it comes to the final stage of tomato sauce's life cycle, disposal. The end of a tomato sauce's life cycle is usually the point at which the sauce has reached the end of its shelf life and is no longer safe or suitable for consumption. Tomato sauce is a perishable product that can deteriorate over time due to the growth of bacteria, mold, or yeast. Signs of spoilage may indicate that tomato sauce has reached the end of its useful life and should be discarded to avoid the risk of foodborne illness. Put used tomato sauce packaging and residue in a trash can and avoid throwing packaging and residue directly into nature if possible. The system boundary is mentioned and the inventory data investigated is based on the 3 stages of planting, processing, and packaging. At the planting stage, row lists the input at this stage. During the tomato paste processing phase, the electricity, gas, and water consumed by these steps were calculated. In the packaging phase, 8 different materials used by different companies in the production of tomato paste are listed. The environmental impacts of tomato paste during its life cycle mainly include land use, water resource use, chemical discharge, and waste disposal. In the planting stage, tomato planting needs to consume a lot of water and land resources, and in the planting process, a lot of chemical fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, and other pesticides may be used, which may pollute the soil, air, and water resources. In the processing stage, it requires a large amount of energy and water resources and produces a large amount of wastewater and waste. Meanwhile, the impact associated with the processing stage relates to the consumption of electricity, gas, diesel, and water. And in the packaging and transportation stage, tomato sauce is packaged in bottles, cans, or other containers that, depending on the materials used and the mode of transportation required, may have an impact on the environment. Packaging and transporting tomato paste requires a lot of energy and material resources and produces a lot of packaging waste and emissions. It may cause pollution to the environment and ecology. During sale and use, consumers may dispose of packaging and residues in nature, which can pollute the environment. Finally, at the disposal stage, once the tomato sauce has been used up, the packaging and any remaining tomato sauce are disposed of, which can have an impact on the environment. The study found that tomato growing, processing, packaging material, and transportation production are the 4 stages of the life cycle that have the greatest environmental impact. In particular, the study also compared the environmental impact of different packaging materials. In short, every stage of tomato sauce's life cycle can have an impact on the environment. In order to reduce our impact on the environment, we need to adopt sustainable methods. Here are some suggestions for reducing the environmental impact of tomato sauce over its life cycle. First, growers are advised to give priority to organic tomatoes. Organic tomatoes usually use compost as a partial substitute for mineral fertilizers, thus reducing pollution to soil and water resources. Second, choose local tomato sauce. Because transporting food produces a lot of carbon emissions, choosing local or regional tomato sauce can reduce transportation distances and carbon emissions. Third, reducing food waste reduces the demand for land and water and reduces the amount of waste. Fourth, for some reusable tomato sauce packaging, such as glass bottles, can be cleaned and used to store other items. Creative reuse. Fifth, try to make your own tomato sauce. It allows you to control the source and production process of your food to ensure that it is environmentally friendly and sustainable. Sixth, choosing recyclable packaging materials can reduce the amount of waste and support resource recycling. For some tomato sauce packaging that can be recycled, it can be sent to a local recycling station or waste disposal center for processing to reduce the impact on the environment. The proposed improved life cycle of environmentally friendly tomato sauce is closely related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Environmentally friendly tomato sauce can reduce hunger by ensuring food security and sustainable agricultural production, while reducing the pollution to the environment. It also reduces the negative impact on human health. Reducing water use and pollution at the tomato paste stage helps to achieve the goal of sustainable water management. Environmentally friendly tomato sauce can promote sustainable consumption and production, including reducing waste and carbon emissions, and optimizing resource use. It also can help fight climate change by reducing carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions during production. Finally, environmentally friendly tomato sauces can help achieve the goal of protecting, restoring, and sustainably using terrestrial ecosystems by reducing land and ecosystem damage.